I finally arrive in Havana, the heart of Cuba. Like a scene from a 50s and 60s movie, Havana is a city of dreams. There, I was immersed in nostalgic thoughts of my youth. The people of Cuba accept themselves for who they are and live freely. Their lives captivated me. I'm now off to see traces of Hemingway's The Old Man and the Sea, and the Cuba Hemingway loved so dearly. Everywhere I go, I make precious memories with the people there. That I will never forget. After traveling halfway around the world passing Toronto, Canada, I finally arrive in Cuba, the largest Caribbean island. My long journey in Cuba will conclude in Havana. Once there was an old fisherman who had gone 84 days without catching any fish. There was hardly any food in his boat, and not even a place to rest his head. The waves were fierce, and the feeble old man merely wasted his time. This is a passage from Ernest Hemingway's The Old Man and the Sea. The name of the old man wandering the fierce sea is Santiago. After countless struggles, Santiago catches a giant marlin, only to lose it to sharks, and eventually nothing but the fish bone is left. But the old man learns to find contentment in that. For the first time in his life, he succeeded a defiant task, and he fulfilled his destiny as a fisherman. A short classic that left a strong impression. The Old Man and the Sea is set here in Cuba. Hemingway wrote this novel after hearing a story about one fisherman from a seaside village. To this day, many people make visits to the seas of Cuba, the birthplace of this classic novel. For someone whose destiny is to roam from place to place, The Old Man and the Sea spoke to my heart. Perhaps I might meet someone like Santiago here in Cuba. At that moment, I spot a fisherman on the edge of a cliff. All the fishing gear he has is a string and a needle to hold the bait. He cuts the fish he caught and uses it as bait. He only caught 2 fish since this morning. Even in the midst of the strong sea breeze, Caesar remains still on the edge of the cliff and catches fish. Then he stares at the violent wave and faces his competitor. It may be because he has something to protect. In a way, he is much like Santiago from The Old Man and the Sea. Caesar continues to tussle with the ocean. The only thing he can rely on is a signal touching his fingertips. Could this be it? He gently tugs at the string of hope. Wow, that was a close call. How many more fish will he fill his sack with to leave the sea for today? He casts another line of hope into the sea. Caesar holds on tightly to the string of life and sits still. His shoulders look ever so strong. I'm on my way to find traces of Hemingway, the author who loved Cuba. Finca La Viga, which carries the meaning "lookout farm," in Spanish, currently houses a museum dedicated to Hemingway. While living in Cuba for over 20 years, Hemingway particularly enjoyed fishing. I can almost sense his spirit holding a fishing pole, urging me to go out into the sea with him.
That's a monument to Ernest Hemingway.
Kouji Mar, a small fishing village in Havana, became the author's second home. This place is the setting for The Old Man and the Sea. 10 years after A Farewell to Arms, the silence was broken and The Old Man and the Sea was born. A statue built to honor Hemingway can also be found here. The half-length statue was made by fishermen out of melted boat parts. Even today, Hemingway looks down at the blue sea he loved with all his heart. A place where Hemingway's breath still remains. A harbor that became the motif of the novel. A group of fishermen sit along the breakwater to catch fish. Every year in Kouji Mar, a tournament to catch a marlin, the fish that Santiago caught in The Old Man and the Sea, is held. The old man Santiago never gave up on his dream. Perhaps I may meet someone like him on this harbor. I dream of a big catch myself and head for the breakwater.
할아버지가 갑자기 인사하고 막 했는데 해보라고 주시더라고요. 그러니까 또 옆에 사람이 자기 거 하라고. 근데 이게 나은 것 같아요. 여기 분위기도 올리고 하나 잡아야 되는데. You saw the Hemingway?
No, yeah, he's old.
Hemingway, ya muerto ya.
No, he was died by that time. No. How large? How large?
¿Qué tamaño tenían?
That's all. 300 pounds, 400 pounds. 300 pounds. 300, 400 pounds.
Dile la aguja voladora. Y la
The
aguja.
marlin. You know the marlin?
Ay, marlin.
Marlin sailfish.
The people here and the ocean are indifferent towards strangers. Here, today is another tedious day, and people go about their lives normally. A fishing boat comes near the breakwater and casts a net. Small fish that are caught this way are used for different purposes. The men head out into the ocean to begin their intense day. Hemingway loved Cuba so much that he called himself a Cuban adoptee. Traces of his love for the country continues at a pub called Floridita, which means Little Florida. Hemingway was a regular customer at this pub. He sat in the corner of the pub and bragged about the fish he caught while sipping on cocktails. He always sat in the same spot. A black bartender made daiquiris, a drink he had invented for him. After taking a sip of the daiquiri made with shaved ice, rum, sugarcane juice, and lemon, Hemingway never drank any other cocktails. Eventually, that daiquiri and the black bartender became famous, and thanks to all the customers who came to try his cocktail, he became very wealthy. Cementario de Colon has over 2 million graves, so you have to drive around in a car for a while to see everything. Because it resembles a spacious and fancy sculpture park, it's been recognized as one of the 4 greatest cemeteries in the world. The black bartender who made Hemingway's daiquiris is buried in this very cemetery. It's not very difficult to find the grave of the bartender who worked at Floridita. It's the biggest and most lavish one there. The bartender's grave is much bigger and more extravagant than the grave of Cuba's first president, Cespedes. Life is indeed full of surprises. A plaza in front of a monastery, San Francisco de Assisi. This beautiful street makes for a perfect background for photo shoots. There's one already taking place in the plaza. It looks like a wedding shoot, but there's something special. The leading ladies are 15-year-olds Monica and Ines. This is a coming-of-age tradition in Latin America that 15-year-old girls take part in.
You will be 15 years old, right? 지금 오늘 15살 되는 날이래요. 그러니까 쿠바에서는 여자들이 15살이 되면 성인식을 하거든요.
A grand ceremony that only 15-year-old girls have. The ceremony was once prohibited by the government since it was too fancy. The tradition seems even more special due to the fact that it's only for girls.
Why do you celebrate Colon only at the age of 50?
I don't know because this is
You don't know?
tradition. It's a tradition.
Traditional, right?
Only the girls, not the boys.
Not boy, right?
No, not the
only
boys.
girls.
In Cuba, only for
No, but he take picture with me. He took picture with me in the studio.
It's a good?
Yeah,
It's happy?
Happy
today, right?
yeah.
Even in China, 15-year-old girls take part in a ceremony where they let down their hair and wear ornamental hairpins. It means they've reached the age where they can marry. These young ladies are on their way to starting a new life as women. Children run around barefoot in an alley. The micro scooters these kids are riding look quite unique.
¿Te gusta más montar la carrera que la bicicleta?
Me gusta más la bicicleta. Alguien la tenía por ahí.
그 기계에서 띄운 것 같아 이게 보니까 기계에서 이게 띄운 것 같고 요거는 요거 타이어나 이런 벨트 고무 벨트 또 고무를 댔어요. 이렇게 싹 움직일 수가 있죠. 이렇게 타면서 이쪽도 그렇고.
이게 또 핸들이 있어.
Cuban children are very skilled with their hands. I try riding the scooter myself.
교수님 예전에 어렸을 때 이런 거 타보셨어요?
이런 건 없었어요 그때는.
아 그래?
저희 때는 탑것은 없었는데.
아 그래.
근데 이런 비슷한 건 없죠. 우리 스케이트보드라는 게 우리나라에서 들어온 것도 얼마 안 됐잖아요. 근데 얘네들은 또 이런 게 있네.
Poverty persists in Cuba due to a long economic recession. However, the children continue to dream even in the midst of hardship. I see a glimpse of heaven in their innocent faces. Cuba was the first Latin American country to succeed in a social revolution, and it has walked a different path since then. Although the U.S. issued an economic embargo against Cuba 50 years ago, causing much hardship, the Cubans have baseball to comfort them. These students are too good to be neighborhood baseball players. They hit almost every ball or get a home run. Even the outfielders prove to be good and catch every ball that's hit.
This is professional baseball team.
No. Es escolar. Enseñando a los muchachitos más o menos para que ellos aprendan
So you are coach here, right?
Vamos.
Si yo llegara a ser grande, fueron los campeonatos.
Bueno.
Bueno, para nosotros lo más grande. Nosotros lo más grande. Cuando hay una medalla olímpica, uno se siente. Sí. Eso es pasión. Sí, después. En algunos, como aquel, hay 3, 1, 2. Hay 4 que no son escolares. Y venimos por tal de que ellos aprendan.
You play baseball every day?
¿Tú juegas todos los días pelota con ellos?
No, vengo de vez en cuando porque yo trabajo.
Ya, pues.
Tú tienes que coger el bate aquí. ¿Qué es eso? Baja el bate, baja el brazo, mira. Siempre corre virado ese muchacho.
No, si eso tiene que batear
Él
más.
va para allá.
The Cubans' love for baseball is very exceptional. Castro, who was a huge baseball fan, created amateur leagues after the revolution and succeeded in gathering public opinion through baseball. Having had 4,000 amateur teams in its heyday, baseball is Cuba's national sport both in name and in reality.
구입한 게 아니라 야구 방망이를 그 나무로 만든 것 같아요. 사이즈도 거의 비슷하거든요. 여기도 이렇게 손잡이도 이렇게 똑같이 만들어 놓고. 근데
Nosotros mismos.
아주 거의 똑같아요. 근데 굉장히 무거운데 박달나무 같은 느낌이에요.
He also made the ball himself. They've used it so much it's become ragged.
Ah, siempre escondiendo el codo.
Always trying to hide the elbow
Trying to hide
to
it.
the back.
Oh.
Scale for yourself.
I finally step into the batter's box with the heart of a major league player.
Elbow back.
Elbow back.
Yes. Más para arriba.
Sopla la bola, sopla la bola.
Kick the ball. Mira, si sigues así.
Si sigues así, vete ya para casa.
If you're doing that well, you can go home. Okay?
Being a professional baseball player is every Cuban boy's dream. They start playing when they're 6, and at the age of 10, they take a test to get into a professional baseball school. So you can't underestimate these countryside boys. Thanks to them, I make it home.
어떠세요? 교수님 어떠세요? 오랜만에 뛰셨는데.
뛰니까 이거 숨도 차고. 아 근데 여기 들판에 사는 게 좀 굉장히 재밌는데요. 실전 같아.
실전 같아.
The kids play through the night without ceasing. They run towards their dream and throw with all their might. El Morro Casa was built 500 years ago to keep pirates and foreign countries from invading. Every night at 9 o'clock, a cannon is fired to inform people that the fortress gates are closing. Today, many tourists come to watch bombardment performances held by people in Spanish military uniform. When a cannon is launched into the ocean, the soldiers cry out, "Night has come, keep silent." A beautiful blue ocean beyond the white sand. Santa Maria del Mar Beach. This sandy beach is like a glimpse of heaven. 25 kilometers east of Havana, outside the downtown area, is a gorgeous beach where you can find rest and forget about your worries. My routine of a fast-paced lifestyle on the other side of the globe caught up to me while traveling around Cuba.
You say you're a woman who knows what she likes, then show me.
Lying under the shade of coconut tree leaves and sipping on a mojito will hopefully change that. Mojitos are one of Cuba's best cocktails. It's made with mint leaves mixed with lime juice, ice, and rum. Sipping on mojitos while listening to the waves crashing is like being in heaven. A world where you're not pressed for time. Here, time passes slowly, and people are comforted.
어렸을 때 해밍웨이도 모히또를 많이 즐겼다고 하네요. 그러니까 해밍웨이가 바다를 상당히 좋아했잖아요. 그러니까 이런 바다에서 거의 지내면서 낚시도 가고 또 저녁에는 모히또를 이렇게 한잔하면서 저같이 이렇게 바람을 맞으면서 이렇게 한류회를 바라보지 않았을까 그런 생각이 드네요. 그래서 마치 해밍웨이가 옆에 있을 것 같은 생각이 들어요. 모히또를 마시고 있으니까.
I watch the waves roll out to the emerald green Caribbean Ocean. It awakens the true meaning of life I had forgotten all this time. The beach in Cuba is vibrant and boasts various colors. Cuba, in the Taino language, means fertile land. Countless conquerors stepped foot into this country as if they were jealous of the land's richness, and traces of them remain everywhere. However, that hasn't changed Cuba for what it is. This is where the Caribbean Ocean Festival takes place. Long ago, these people's ancestors were brought here from Africa. To this day, their passion for Africa runs in their veins. Their heritage remains intact and continues to be celebrated through a festival. To the African slaves who were brought to Cuba and exploited, their indigenous religion was their only source of relief. Their African religion that comforted them was influenced by Catholicism and later created a syncretic religion called Santeria. The Afro-Cubans hold a rich and sacred ritual for the sea god.
A través del Festival del Caribe, pues estas ceremonias se hacen para socializar todos estos saberes para con la comunidad, para con la sociedad y para con todos los amigos que vienen de otras latitudes.
The primitive charm of Africans is demonstrated through the Caribbean Ocean Festival. It is followed by a ritual of sacrificing the blood of an animal to the sea god. Even when they were ostracized, the Africans protected their culture and life. To those who are unfamiliar and new to the ritual, Watching this take place can be a vivid and strange experience. It is time to present the sacrificial offering to the sea god. They send off the offering while singing of their wishes. The ritual performers hold a purification ceremony by holding rum in their mouth and spitting it out to prevent bad luck.
Por el amor que le tengo.
So personally, I love
porque
that
todo en la concreta, todo forma parte del todo.
And this is something very.
Y nosotros los humanos somos diversos en lo común.
To these people, singing and dancing are one. Everyone praises the sea god with their bodies. The rhythm that protected them for many years in the midst of suffering and fear revives as music of their own passing through the Caribbean and Cuba. Where there's music, there's always a festival in Cuba. The passion of the people who endured many trials year after year can't be expressed any better than this. Cuba, a genuine country that was once a figment of my imagination. A land where the old is beautiful. Cheerful despite living in poverty. The untainted smiles of Cubans shine brightly, along with the stunning Caribbean Ocean.
Take my hand, I'll teach you to dance. Spin you around, I'll let you fall down. Would you let me lead? You can step on my feet.